I have also been working with a lot of fields and uh, landed up in sports psychology around 6 years back as a scientist with Sports Authority of India. Initially, I was a bit skeptic about what we'll be able to do in sports psychology because coming from a background of clinical psychologists are always skeptic about what we are, what we'll be able to achieve. But then in the matter of time, I realized that sports psychology is a field where we can use our the intervention techniques and the basic skills we have got during our course in clinical psychology very effectively. And clinical psychology is a performance oriented field. So it gives us a vast opportunity. It gives us a vast opportunity to interact with and to work with various level of players. We work from junior level of players to the senior most level of players to the regional tournaments and to the Olympics. And then when your techniques, when your intervention works, when your intervention, you will start working with the player and the player goes on from regional level to an international level. So that gives you a kind of satisfaction that only can be achieved in the field of sports psychology. It's a miraculous field. It's a miraculous field. You can reach to the hem of your career within no time if you have got the uh, uh, skills required for it. And then the skills required is very flexible. Means ki if you want to work in the field of sports psychology, you have to be very creative. You have to be very creative. You will be using the maybe the same techniques are being used through the same techniques are being used whatever you have learned in the field of clinical psychology, even in the field of when you are doing your graduation and post graduation, the kind of things you learn, the same things are applied. But the the difference is we have to individualize it to the needs of the players. So that's what we are trying to do. And I will give you an overview of what we are doing in sports psychology and where all sports psychologists are needed, because sometimes looking at the scenario in India, you might be psychology will be as a career. But I assure you, if you learn the skills, if you learn the skills, if you know what you are going to do, and you prepare for what you are going to do, you will obviously be able to impress everybody. You will be able to impress the whole system, and you will be able to reach the top of your career. So uh, it requires effort, but if you put on the effort, then there is no stopping. So I'll start the presentation. Okay, so the topic is sports psychology for sports excellence. Means what I'm going to talk about is from here only you can get the point of view. I'm not going to talk about only the problems with sports psychology. I'm going to talk about it both ways. Like it will be the maybe a little part of it will be the problems with the sports persons, and another part is how we are going to improve the performance. So it is both ways. It's being a sports psychologist means you have to work both ways. You have to work on the athletes problems issues, okay, and then you have to work on, initially you start with removing the issues and taking them towards better performance. So that's why the topic is sports psychology for sports excellence. Then comes what is sports psychology. So we'll start with the sports psychology, how we define in simple terms only. I'm not going to be very theoretical about this presentation. It's I'm trying to give you an overview of what sports psychology is. So it is the study of psychological and mental factors that influence and are in physical activity. So it's a vice versa kind of thing that we are working on. What are the psychological and mental factors which influence performance? That is the one side. And the other side is the how processes will influence the player's performance, and another way how the player's performance will affect his psychological and mental function. Both are important. Psychological and mental factors of a player, and the way it's going to work upon his performance. So that also we want to know. And another way, how the player's performance, if he is winning continuously, if he is losing continuously, if he is alternating between losing and winning, so how it is affecting his psychological makeup, his psychological and mental processes. So psychological and mental processes, obviously the player who is continuously winning, his psychological and even the player who is alternating between winning and losing, his mental processes will be completely different. So we have to find different approaches to all these different kind of players, and the application of the knowledge gained through this study to everyday settings means everyday settings means we work upon we work with the we work with the elite players who are participating in national games, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, Olympics. So these players are playing at different level, and this working with these players provides us knowledge how the when the player develops from Commonwealth Games to Asian Games and goes on to Olympics. So how his streak of winning is affecting his psychological, is going to represent himself in the national games or in the Commonwealth Games. So knowledge gained through that the players who participate in the topmost tournaments, Asian Games or Olympic Games, are generally called in our terminology. They are generally called elite players. So all these other players, Mirabai Chanu in weightlifting, all other famous players. So they are our elite players who are representing our country in Olympics and national games and Olympics and Asian Games. So they are elite players. So their psychological makeup is a kind of knowledge for us. It provides us a kind of knowledge that can be applied to the grassroots level of players who are just starting their career, or who are at a point of their career where they can transform from national level to Commonwealth and to Asia. What is the scope of sports psychology? Where sports psychology as a subject is athletes. Here the topic is athletes, sports problem of psychological nature faced by athletes. So the first one is emotional reconditioning. Means when the player wins, his emotional status is different. When the player loses, his emotional condition is different. When the player is alternating between, recondition him. We have to recondition him. We have to bring him back to the mental status of again going to another competition. That is called, okay. So emotional reconditioning we are talking about. Then motivational techniques for learning new skills. Like sometimes learning new skills also trying to learn something new also becomes a issue. So we have to find out some motivation. From clinical psychology, we are very initially when I entered the field, I was very skeptic about what motivation means. What we always being clinical psychologist, we always think that motivation comes from inside. Our view of motivation is entirely different from the view of motivation that is taken in sports psychology. So you have to understand that motivation, yes, my understanding as a psychologist is motivation should come from inside. But when you enter into the field of sports psychology, you realize that this, it has always been, the training part has always been physical. It's very little mental to a great extent. It's very little mental. So we have to, if we try to work upon the basic skills, if you try to work upon the basic skills, basic things, that will work as a magic to them. So we have to believe the basic things which are found to be working in the field of sports. We have to believe those things. Then psychological preparation for a context and the hazards involved with it. So context, whenever a competition is there are a lot of psychological preparation which needs to be done before the competition. So that psychological preparation part has to be taken care of by the sports psychologist. Motivation for peak performance, how the peak performance will be maintained. Like somebody has won already won a medal at Olympics, and we want him to already won an Olympic medal. He is having the capability to bring glory to the country repeatedly. So I have to keep the player motivated for performing in the next couple of Olympics. So that peak performance has to be obtained from the player, and now I have to find out what will motivate the player, what is going to motivate the player. Sometimes, because when you perform at Olympic level, when you get a medal at Olympic, you get awards and posts and everything. So why to do it? When everything is with me, when I've got everything, why should I go and repeatedly work that much to perform at a higher level? So the psychologist has to find out. Sometimes the motivation may be of a spiritual kind. Like there have been stories of some Olympians in another country who were from the country which was war afflicted, and they found out a motto to develop war-free zone for children. They found out a motto like if they participate in Olympics and get a lot of money, so they will create war-free zones for their children education. And the player kept on winning multiple medals. So that kind of motivation has to be find out. Then teaching and coaching methods, you all know teaching learning methods are there. Then perceptual development and learning of movement patterns, that also comes under psychology. Like now we have started with equipment. So perceptual development, perception, perception as we take it is involved in most of the games, like how we perceive the touch in wrestling, how we perceive the guns shot in athletics, how we perceive all other things in the archery perception, the how the air stream is there when you are shooting, how the air is blowing, and then relationship of personality traits to athletic prowess. So what kind of personality we want? Do we want an aggressive player to be a boxer? Or we want a submissive player to be a boxer? Or we want a combination of both to be a great boxer? So that all we need to understand. So while doing all this, what are you this is a kind of a lesson for all of us when we are trying to work with the athlete. What all we have to be well acquainted with, what are the areas of psychology we have to thoroughly know to be able to work with the points I told in the last slide. So there are topics from developmental psychology, that is optimal learning and performance, maturational, heredity and experience, processes, childhood, adolescence, maturity, and then aging problems. From personality, we need to know what kind of adjustment problems we know, what is self concept, what is motivation, what is persistence, what is direction and psychological effort, what are the attributes and success. Then from learning, we all will learn to know learning processes, factors influencing skill acquisition, administration of practice sessions, performance variables. Ergonomics is a bit different from this. And then from social psychology, like for team games and even individual games. Like individual games also is a like if we talk about boxing is an individual game. But before the means apart from the competition, when the player is playing in competition, apart from the competition, there is always a national camp consisting of 40-50 odd people, 40-50 odd people, where 30 or 35 of boxers are there, and apart from that 10-15 coaches are there, masseurs are there, psychologists, nutritionists, and all these people are there. So it's already individual games are also a group, and then the team games are already a group. So we need to take care of all these social issues also. Social psychology में group dynamics, competition and cooperation, leadership, spectator effects, peer effects, that also has to be taken care of. Psychometrics, you all know, is a very important part of this. So measurement of individual differences, group differences, ability, attitude, skills, personal selection, prediction, and then thing is you have to be very like, you cannot always say that these are the only tests which can be used in the field of sports psychology. You can use all other tests in the context of what is expected of you. What is expected of you? If the coach is expecting you to do testing for a particular thing, then you have to get a test which is not very lengthy, that the athlete can not very easily do, and even then you can get your results. So it is that way. You have to be very thorough with all the tests, you have to be very thorough with the event equipment. All this needs to be very well learned. Then all the help us to know about the personality traits, the psychological conditioning, psychological aspects. So these are these you must be aware of. Then how the psychologist helps the athlete is discovering changes they can make to help them move to next level of performance. I told you that the motivational skills to learn new techniques. So what is going to interest the athlete to arousal, optimal level of arousal. Then when you come to top performances, like when we talk of Sachin Tendulkar and this kind of people, so we realize that they, it's not only optimum level of arousal, that they maintain this optimum level of arousal throughout their inning. And then there are implications for what we call this uh, sledging kind of thing. So sledging is the players are not having any kind of animosity with each other. It is basically a technique used to deflect the level of arousal of the player, so that when the player of when the if they can simply deflect the player's arousal level, they can get their wickets, they can destroy their performance. And sledging is done by the opposition team to destroy the performance of one player. And if the player realizes that this whatever is getting said is not because of some personal animosity, but it is simply to deteriorate my performance, he can maintain himself, and he can continue his great performance. So these kind of applications are also there. Then how we interact. So how we interact is teaching research in sports sciences, working with athletes on performance enhancement. Research is also a very major part of sports psychology. We are continuously developing, and there are so many opportunities for budding psychologists, because this field, sports psychology, has not yet been fully utilized. It has not yet been fully utilized. People means is just a means moderate kind of development, and that to all over world. Means even at the world level it is not very developed. So if you can come up with some interesting ideas, if you can come up with some innovative ideas, you can become a very means a famous person in the field of sports psychology. Then teaching research psychology, working with athletes, providing clinical and counseling services. Clinical and counseling services, yes, athletes come with a lot of interpersonal issues, athletes come with a lot of team issues, athletes come with a lot of personal issues. So there you have to wear the hat of a clinical psychologist and try to handle that situation that way. But mostly it's not that severe that we can call it clinical. It's mostly a mild kind of thing which need to be dealt accordingly. Okay. Then health promotion, working with athletes, but not necessarily. So sometimes the sports psychologist is involved in other activities also. So and then coaching of youth. Another part is how you are one there are levels of working with the athletes. One is you are working with budding athletes, then you are working with moderate level of athletes, and then you are working with elite athletes. So you have to be uh, fluent with working with all this, and then you have to have different level of different set of skills. You have to possess different set of skills to be dealing, and you have to have a different kind of personality also. When you are working with an elite athlete, when you are talking to Neeraj Chopra, your personality is completely different. And when you are talking to somebody else, your personality is completely different. So that way also you have to imbibe, psychology actually there. Then what we do as a sports psychologist, so there are three roles. I am into research, how we how our how the knowledge I have got through working with athletes can be utilized to help the budding athletes, that is research. Then we are teaching, so there are coaching programs. We have coaching programs with us. We have medicine program with us. Diploma in sports medicine is also there, so we are teaching sports doctors also. We are teaching coaches also. Then we are teaching certain other courses also. All the means even the armed forces, the police, the CRPF, everybody they are having all this is sports related skills teaching kind of thing. So we deal with all that. And then consulting in two ways. Consulting is one is of mild kind of clinical things, and then another is consulting with high sports performance issues. Okay. So the main the one word which can define sports psychology, the work of sports psychology, the work of sports psychology with athletes is mental training. Mental training. This mental training is training with the training the mind of the athlete. Mental training, training the mind of the athlete. So it is an umbrella term which consists of lot of different uh, parts, which you will come to know later on. Yes. So mental game tools are, we are training with the strategies, we are training with the tactics, we are training with the rituals, we are training with visualization, we are training with mental toughness, and then we are training with emotions. Okay. So we can have a very simple understanding that when a player reaches the elite level, like if a player is going to play at Olympics, a player is going to play at Asians or in Commonwealth Games, how many years on an average he must have practiced his game? It must be around 10 odd years before a player reaches all these famous games. So that also has to be kept in mind uh, when you project yourself to be a sports psychologist. You must understand that you are going to deal with a person who has this many years of experience in sports, and then you should be applying all your knowledge in such a subtle way that it gonna help the person in some way or the other. So 10 odd years of experience. Now this 10 odd years of practice, what the players usually do? What the players usually do is physical practice. Okay, mostly is physical practice. Now another question is, like when you are going to participate in a game and your mood gets off, you get a bad mood in the morning. So you get a bad mood in the morning just before the competition. What may be the reason of this bad mood? Reason of bad mood may be not good quality food, not good accommodation. Like this happens with our players who go to foreign countries to participate in the tournaments. And actually, when you are accustomed of having Indian food, you are accustomed of staying in Indian accommodations, you are accustomed of traveling in Indian style. So when you reach another country and you don't get lot of time there, it's just a matter of couple of days. When you land up there, you get some days, and then you have to perform. So any of these, the food, the accommodation, the uh, traveling, anything, the electricity, anything can create a problem. Anything can create a problem. You are trying to get certain things, and you are not able. You don't know where the market is. You don't know the people who can fetch the things for you. So anything can create a bad mood. Now, how our bad mood affects us? So whatever we have done in our lives, if whatever, like I have been studying psychology for so many years, I have been studying psychology for so many years, we can simply speak about psychology at a length. But if I am in a bad mood, I won't be able to speak at all, at all. Okay, because it relates to my emotions relate to my cognition. My emotion relate to my cognition. Like, the way I think is affected by the way I feel. So with the time when I should be very creative and innovative, I should be thinking about all my knowledge and trying to present the thing in front of you so that you can be amazed with what this field can do. And I am in a bad mood and I cannot correlate with anything, and you feel like, oh, it's such a trouble. The same happens with the player when he should be using his 10 or 15 odd years of experience to devise strategies which can fetch him a medal there. Because of a simple bad mood, he is not able to do anything. So a simple bad mood, it's nothing, not an emotional kind of, he's not having any anxiety, any pressure, any other big things, depression or whatever we talk about. These all are not there, not at all there, but simply a bad mood. So we need to understand, we need to start from scratch. We need to start from a scratch. The thing which we don't mind are so important to the players, are so important to the players. So we need to, that's empathy. You must be able to correlate it. What we call, simply call in psychology term, in terms of psychology, is empathy, putting yourself into others' shoes. So you have to be able to project yourself in. You have to be able to put yourself in the place of the athlete, where he has come from. Most of the athletes come from villages, the uh, very very rural kind of settings where nothing is available, and they they, uh, they don't have information about what all can be done. They don't have any information about what is this subject all about, what is this specialist all about, what he can work upon, what are the important things. So we have to make them aware how we can help them there. So you all are aware, strategy is a general plan of action. Tactics is activities designed to win to implement the strategy. Then rituals, what we are doing to have a important thing. And then visualization, imagery, mental toughness, finding the power within yourself to do whatever it takes to win regardless of the condition. Means your the outcome of the game doesn't affect you. The outcome of the game doesn't affect you. What affects you is your own performance. Were you playing better than yesterday? Are you were not playing better than yesterday? So that is the aim. Are you playing better than yesterday? That is mental toughness. I'm not concerned with I'm winning or losing. I'm concerned with how I am performing today. And if the performance is not that great, what is it that is affecting my performance? Okay, and then emotions. I talked about it. So. Uh, Mental training, the functions are develop the concentration of a champion. When you say the concentration of a champion, means the this concentration is altogether different from the concentration we talked about it. Cognitive processes. This concentration is all about how you can gather all your energy. How you can get. It's not only about putting your mind in a fixed place, but it is about how you can gather all your energy to the point where you want to utilize it. This is the concentration I'm talking about in game. So you can gather all your energy to the point where you can use it for your ultimate benefit. You don't have any other uh, thought apart from your performance. That concentration we have to work upon. Rebound quickly from mistakes and losses. So mistakes and losses, we cannot afford to think about our mistakes and losses when we are in important game. So we have to develop a strategy to rebound. Then learning to stay calm and composed under pressure, master last minute negativity and self doubt. How the situation is very dynamic. The player has got a number of minutes in between. Nothing else can be done. So he has to utilize those minutes to the fullest potential, and then mentally prepare for big matches. Whoever is coming in front of you, you have to be mentally prepared that if you want to get the medal, you have to do it. So mentally prepare for big matches. Then procedure. What is the procedure? What we do when we are going for mental training? What we do is, first of all, we go for psychological testing. The required test, we're trying to find out what are the required tests for this place. Some tests may be important, like we are working upon maybe attention is area where the person attention is an area where we are trying to work, but we realize that the player is a elite player, and I cannot work simply upon focused or sustained attention. He has got a very great focused and sustained attention, and his game requires, like he is a hockey player, and in the game he requires different kind of attention. Like when the match is starting, he has to have a focused attention, we where he only had to care about the ball and not about the, means when ball comes to him, he has to handle it and he has to deflect it to his teammates, so he don't have to bother about the opposition. Then when the game progresses, he has to have sustained attention where he knows where his teammates are, where the opposition players are, and where the ball is, and so he has to flick the ball to the his teammate only according to the strategy. Now the game is progressing, so the game plan is there, he has to have a strategy. Then sustained attention, then comes simultaneous attention. Now sorry, divided attention. Divided attention, the team has got some goals, the other team has also got some goals, the game is getting critical. Now he has to focus upon the game strategy, the opposition, the team players, and many things have to be kept in mind one by one. So that is a point where divided attention has to be there. Then they come to penalty shootout, a penalty corner up situation. There, where he has to have simultaneous attention kind of situation, where he knows at a point of time where the opposition player is, where our teammates are, where the goalkeeper is, where what is the strategy and what is going to be implemented. So all this. So when while doing this psychological training testing, we have to be very careful what we are going to test and what is required for the player. That individual players interview, we need to know, we only psychological testing cannot provide the whole picture. Sometimes the players has a lot to say which doesn't come out in testing, so we have to also interview the player through different techniques so that we can find out what is going on in the mind of the player, and accordingly we have to develop the intervention techniques suiting the needs of the players. Audio tapes of the mental training has to be kept, like what has went on in this is a CBT kind of thing, cognitive behavior therapy of kind of thing, where audio tapes are kept. What the player is saying, we have to analyze it later, and we have to give it back to, we have to tell it back to the player what he was talking about, and what is it is all about. Then discussion with the coaching staff. Yes, coaching staff is very much needed. Means uh, coaches are like parents to the players. Coaches are like parents to the players. So you cannot avoid a coach. You cannot avoid a coach in the while working with the player. Um, uh, don't ever try to avoid the coach. So you have to you have to understand that when the player is talking to you, what are the parts that need to be told to the coach, and there are some parts which doesn't need to be told to the coach. So but still you have to take the coach in confidence that you are working with the player, you are working in a positive way, so that the coach understands that there must be some issues which are coming out in front of the sports psychologist, uh, maybe against him, but he understands the sports psychologist is that much competent that he can modulate the player in his thinking against the team or against the support staff. So that kind of confidence has to be generated. And then observation of the player doing game. This is a very important thing. Whatever we are doing in the our laboratories, whatever we are doing in our rooms, are how competently it is, how effectively it is being generalized in the field of play. That also has to be seen. Then comes method. So what is method? Players are initially counseled and psychoeducated. Then they are assessed. Their profiling and individual counseling sessions are done. Short-term and long-term intervention techniques are discussed. Now, I'll talk about the short-term and long-term intervention techniques. Short-term intervention technique is something when you are trying to work upon something that is going to be corrected, that is going to be corrected in a short span of time. When you have got a short span of time and the player is about to participate in some major game, then we can have short-term intervention techniques where we work upon short-term goals which can be achieved within a fixed period of time. And then long-term techniques are the techniques which are trying to work upon to develop the athlete into a champion, to develop the athlete into a world champion. So short-term technique is having a short-term goal, like Commonwealth Games, Asian Games, some kind of short-term goal is there. Even national games are there. Short-term goals are there, and we are trying to. It's short-term is kind of emotionally reconditioning the player. Emotionally reconditioning the player. The player has come back from some game. The player has been in practice, and now we want to keep the player in same state of mind. Same state of mind for being ready to perform in the coming game. So that is in short-term games. But when we talk about long-term games, it is a long-term intervention. It is like preparing a player from Commonwealth Games to Olympic Games. Preparing a national champion to become an Olympic champion. So that kind of personality, that kind of attitude, that kind of mental toughness has to be developed in the player, and it is a long-term thing which comes from everyday practice, and then accordingly intervention processes progress. Yes. So the short-term intervention technique. What are the chief complaints that are dealt with in short-term, and what are the intervention techniques that are used? So this is maybe warm-up dependency is there. Some players are dependent. Some players feel dependent. It is not actually dependent. Some players feel dependent that if the warm-up is not very good, they cannot be able to perform. But actually, what happens? The player knows how warm-up is done, and they have already done their warm-up nicely. So that dependency sort of thing has to be sorted out. Then lack of confidence is there. What are the strategies used? You can read it here. Positive self-talk strategies, self-realistic performance goals, pep-up talk, imagery. So this has to be tailored according to the need of the individual. This has to be individualized. This has to be individualized. You cannot go away by just telling stay confident, stay confident. It is not like that. You have to find out what motivates the player, what peps up the player, what is the thing that peps up the player, what is there that means motivates him. So the self-talk strategies, the imagery, what imagery motivates him, that all has to be found out. Then negative thoughts for positive attitude building, thought changing techniques can be applied. Yeah, Jacobson progressive muscle relaxation technique is applied, autogenic relaxation techniques, and this means the way it is used in sports is altogether different. Atulji will be talking about a program after this presentation. Atulji will be talking about a program on sports psychology, where we'll be talking about all the sports specific techniques, how this JPMR, autogenic training, thought changing techniques, and all are used in sports specific context, how we convert it into their sports version so that it works effectively for everybody. That will be talked about. Then how the aggression and frustration during bout is controlled, hustle log, arousal monitoring techniques are there. Arousal monitoring may be used, biofeedback, we use different kind of biofeedbacks, and that is in a very innovative way. So that also has to be uh, that also has to be uh, it is also there in that program what we are talking about, which will come later on after this session. Then poor concentration, attention control training, cue words, attention control training, and here and now mixed reaction timer techniques, digit 10 techniques are there. Now we have neuro tracker, you have sports vision training, we have Vienna test system sports, so all these are there. Psychosocial stress counseling, and these things is there. Long-term intervention techniques, what are the things we try to handle in long-term or mental toughness? For this, you can find out that these are the things which have to be developed over long term, and it takes a lot of time. So you have to be, it's not only being a psychologist, it's being a sports psychologist is not only about being psychologist, it's also about being a soft skill trainer. You have to be a psychologist, you have to be a soft skill trainer, and then you have to be a clinical psychologist. So all these things should be inbuilt in your inbuilt in your skills. You should learn these skills to become a successful sports psychologist. Assertiveness training, mental toughness procedures, proactivity, hardiness, then communication skills, assertiveness training, transactional analysis, pre-association, motivation. Motivation is a completely different kind of thing when we talk about sports. So you have to be very much innovative about what we do as uh, a sports psychologist when we have to take care of motivation of the players. And then burnout is there. Burnout is an issue. So burnout also we have to focus on intervention training schedules. Training schedules mostly create burnout. So their training schedule has to be intervened. And uh, if you are thorough about what kind of training schedules are formed, how it is formed, what kind of training is given, in what cycles it is given, what is periodization and everything, then only you can make an intervention on training schedules. Then rescheduling, reinforcement, promoting self-actualization, Maslow's self-actualization, then psychosocial stress, and then fatigue. Here, a very important, a very interesting thing comes in. Mental fatigue management is there. Flicker eye movement test is there. EMDRT, eye movement desensitization reprocessing. So EMDRT, if you read the literature on PTSD, uh, uh, PTSD, trauma care, PTSD. If you read the literature on PTSD, you'll notice that dealing with PTSD patients, the psychologist used EMDRT techniques. EMDRT consists of desensitizing the eye movements. Now, in sports, we realize that eye movement is a great source of fatigue for the players. So, why don't we use EMDRT for this fatigue management? So you have to be innovative. You have to be aware with what all is being used in psychology, what all is being used in technology, what all is being even in other subjects like high altitude training. For high altitude training, players are means some of the countries are located at high altitude. So when they are going to play in those countries, they have to perform at high altitude. And when you are at high altitude, you have problem with oxygen supply. So if the player is trying to play and he has a problem with oxygen supply, he cannot perform to his best. So we have to train them in high altitude. By high altitude training, we have hypoxic chambers. The hypoxic chambers are installed in Sports Authority of India, some places. Now, how psychologists can use hypoxic chamber? So we have to give maximum benefit to the athlete. Now I'm working with an elite athlete. He comes to me for performance issues, and I'm talking to him. I'm giving him training on some equipments. But what I can do to give him maximum benefit, I can place. I can place our conversation in the hypoxic chamber itself. I can place my equipment in the hypoxic chamber itself, so that the apart from getting the psychological training, the player is also getting the hypoxic training. So it is a kind of win-win situation for the athlete. So we have to be thinking that way. And Then a psychological skill training program, how it generally happens when we talk about psychological training for an athlete. So it's a general plan. You will find it you will find it ending in 10 to 12 weeks. 10 to 12 weeks means only 3 months. 12 weeks mean only 3 months, but it is for elite athlete. It is for the topmost athlete, elite athletes. So it is for elite athlete. If we are working with the developing athletes, if we are working with Commonwealth, Asian Games athletes, even Olympic athletes, some are the areas which needs to be consistently and continuously developed. Consistently and continuously developed. So it's just a basic model of what we are going to do, but then it can go on from 3 months to 6 months to 12 months and up to years. So it's just a blueprint of what is simply done. So in first week, we can go for assessment of the areas of focus. The strategies are using psychological tests, follow up with the baseline assessment, and create awareness for the need of psychological skill training program. In second and third session, yeah, second and third week, what we are going to do is intervention for the simple things: reaction time, attention, concentration. That intervention we can plan in a matter of 2 weeks. Some tests where colonoscope, this span test, and cognitive training, these things are used to manage this. And then in fourth and fifth week, we can intervene for competition anxiety, arousal monitoring, 2 weeks time. We can use relaxation procedure, biofeedback training, cognitive behavior therapy, anger management. These are just indicative. We use a lot more, many things which are not listed here. Even if it is listed, the biofeedback training you can see as a word here. It consists of uh, uh, hours. I mean, in a couple of days of a couple of months of exercise, biofeedback training. So, and then in 6 7 weeks we intervene for mental fatigue, motivation, insight training, motivation enhancement. These all are done. Then 8 to 9th week we go for intervention for mental toughness and communication skills. So assertiveness training, mental toughness procedures are done. In 10 to 10th week, when we are finishing this review of what has happened, and then rehearsal, debriefing, and generalization. So this is just indicative. This is just indicative. It's just putting the plan, putting the things into a plan. It depends upon the needs of the player. It depends upon the needs of the player. Some of the players require really require 2 3 months, but some of the players require 2 3 years, and it varies in between from months to years. It varies in between, and believe me, the most of the players require a lot of training into psychological stick, and you need to work a lot with the players. So, future directions. What are the future directions? As initially I talked about eradicating deficiency. That the word I were talking about when we work as a clinical psychologist, working with mild clinical problems. Like the player has got some interpersonal conflict, the player has got some personal issues, player has got some team issues. So this is a kind of deficiency which we need to eradicate. Here we are working of here we are working on negative issues. Then the another part is improving efficiency. That is the major part sports psychologist is going to play. How we improve the efficiency of the player. So how we improve the efficiency of player, that is the major part we are going to work upon. Then body mounted biofeedback devices. Biofeedback is worked in biofeedback is done in 2 ways. One is the player is kept in laboratory with all the devices, and he is not doing any active exercise there, and he is having a training and biofeedback. Another is while the player is performing his game, and then you try to take the try to take his biofeedback parameters. So body mounted devices have to be used, and these body biofeedback devices come in a variety of ways. So we have to be very much aware about that. Then virtual reality training. Virtual reality is being used like anything. All the major world famous games are using this virtual reality thing. When we talk about Chelsea, when we talk about Liverpool, when we talk about this NBA stars, when we talk about swimming, all this, they are using virtual reality like anything. So we have to be now we as a psychologist have to learn all this. You mind what I'm trying to say is we have to learn what virtual reality is, and it's not only knowing what virtual reality is and being able to apply it, but being able to even design some virtual reality scenarios is the thing that a psychologist has to be competent about. We have to be able to design virtual reality scenarios so that we can give the player what he wants. Every player will come with different kind of requirements, and we have to design the things as per his needs. And believe me, this effort will not go waste. This effort will not go waste. You will have one day, if you work as an efficient sports psychologist, one day you will have so many people all over world that you can means you generate so much respect from everybody that you won't ask anything else for. So this is worth the pain. Then EMDR techniques I talked about, eye movement desensitization reconditioning for fatigue management, and then interaction with other sports science. I just talked about the hypoxic chamber, and then the biochemistry, from the chemistry, we can talk about certain hormones uh, which gets implicated in fatigue, which gets implicated in fatigue management, which gets implicated in aggression. So you have to be aware. You have to be dealing with that hormonal things also. You have to be dealing with biomechanics. I had many consultations where the players say that while we are in training, we are able to perform some body movements very nicely. Like when we talk about gymnastics, when we talk about buso. So this is all about your body positions. But when they go to the competition, they are not aware how their body is moving, where their legs should be, where their head should be, where their hands should be, where their torso should be. So psychology here is interacting with biomechanics. Psychology here is interacting with biomechanics. Biomechanics is the branch of sports sciences that deals with the body posture and body postures and everything. Now the psychologist has to be able to implement his skills into biomechanics so that he can correct the postures and things. And when like means sometimes you may feel that you are not the competent person to be talking about all this. Like it's not your subject. But then being a psychologist, you have to be able to say something. The national coach has called you upon, and the Olympian or some very elite athlete is demonstrating the skill in front of you, and you can't stay away saying that it's not my subject. You have to be giving them some advice which interests them, which looks like to them of some benefits. So you can't stay away saying that it is not my area. So you have to be fluent with all this. And with this, I finish my presentation here. Hope it was of giving you some insight into the field of sports psychology. And I'll hand over to Atulji
Okay, sir.
for
Thank,
sir.
thank you, sir. There are some questions one by one. I will uh, ask. They are
Yes,
from the participants. So
yes,
there is
yes,
one question that is Subhi Bisaria. Uh,
yes,
Good morning, sir. Sir, I am a student pursuing masters in counseling psychology, and
yes.
I am into sports as well. So, sir, how can I pursue sports psychology as a career?
Sports psychology as a career, pursuing sports psychology as a career. There are courses running in sports psychology. There is a National Sports University located in Manipur, Northeast. So they are running a course in MSc Sports Psychology. So you can go for that. And apart from that, there are Apart from that, the Sri Ramchandra University and the Mano Rachna University in Faridabad, they are also having courses in sports psychology. So you can pursue course in sports psychology there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Another
Hope it
question.
helps. Yeah.
Another question is from Astha. Uh,
Yes.
Sir, I'm a psychology undergrad student. I want
Yes.
to know about internship in the field of sports psychology. Can we go for it?
Internship in the field of sports psychology. Yes, Astha, you can apply through your college to any of the major institutes. Like
Sir, switch
in
off your
Delhi, also we
camera
have
again because your
Gata,
voice is
Trivandrum,
breaking.
and many other cities have branches. And yes, okay, sir. Okay. Just a
Because
minute,
I think that is affecting the voice quality
yes.
because of connection. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So
Yes.
can you repeat
So,
your answer because
so
that
if
was.
you just
Hmm.
yes. So if you go, you can through your organization, you can apply to the centers of Sports Authority of India, and you can very easily get internship into any of the places.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Next question is from
Yes.
Purva
Yes.
Mathur. Uh,
Yes.
I did my MA Clinical Psychology from Manipal University, Jaipur last year. Now I am
Yes.
preparing for MPhil Clinical Psychology entrance. I am from
Yes.
Gwalior. In our city, there is no sports institute. Lakshmi Bai National Institute of Physical
Yes.
Education.
Yes. Yes.
Uh,
LNI.
right, but I think she has not written further. That she has written just this much only. So I don't know why what she is asking. So we'll
Yes.
take another question that is from Bhupender Gurjar. The question is, sir, please tell us about career option in sports psychology in India.
His career option in sports psychology in India is very bright now because all the federations, all the games, like you might not be aware of the system. So all the games, this athletics is there, weightlifting is there, boxing is there. All the games have their federations. Okay, and they have their national camps organized. Apart from that, they have different kind of schemes. We have NCOE, National Center of Excellence scheme is there, different schemes. So a requirement of a sports psychologist is everywhere. If you are a good sports psychologist, you will find very good opportunities anywhere in India.
Okay. And Sonal Shah from Ahmedabad, she's asking, she's pursuing PhD, like preparing for PhD entrance examination and
Yes.
completed her MA clinical psychology. And she's asking how to pursue sports psychology. Does any way to I can do from Ahmedabad?
Ahmedabad.
Hmm.
Okay, Ahmedabad. Yes, Ahmedabad. Mein, you have got this uh, uh, Swarnim Gujarat University. Swarnim Gujarat University in Ahmedabad, Gandhinagar. So
Okay.
Swarnim Gujarat is running lot of courses, and you will definitely find a sports psychology course there. Yes,
Okay.
yes,
Ananya Batra is asking for, I think, video. Pura Mathur again, sir. Pura Mathur is saying, uh,
yes.
my question is, what psychological techniques should a sports psychologist can use in para-Olympic participants to motivate them?
Yes, Para Olympic participant. Actually, the basic techniques which are used, the basic techniques like JPMR, autogenic training, systematic desensitization, and it is more effective with para athletes. Like para athletes will already be having uh, little problem, a little problem with their this psychological function. So this simple exercises work very nicely with them, and later on, according to the need, you can develop further strategy to work with them.
Okay.
Yes.
And then Bhanu Rico is asking, uh, I am from Chandigarh. I have done graduation and masters in psychology from Punjab University. I am also doing PG diploma in child and family counseling. Also, also certify in personal fitness trainer from EREPS. So, sir, what you consult me to become a sports psychologist? So I do it. So I do any diploma certification in sports psychology, or I do again master in sports psychology. The-
I'll suggest you, Bhanu. You can go for having a master's in sports psychology, because if you have a master's in sports psychology, you are provided with lot of techniques. Even this Chandigarh, then Ludhiana, or Jalandhar. This university is there. They have masters in sports psychology. So in Punjab also we have this university running masters in sports psychology. They will provide you lot of techniques and lot of exposure. So means it will be better to go for a full time course than small many courses to be a means efficient sports psychologist. Yes.
okay. And Nutri Girl is asking sports psychology duration courses, duration of the courses. I think she's asking. What
Yes.
about the duration of the courses?
Yes, Nutri. There are courses like if you talk about MSc in sports psychology, it is a 2 year course. It is a 2 years course. Then there are certain certification programs which are run from time to time at various size centers, which are of 2 weeks only. And then undergraduate programs are also there. Undergraduate programs in Sri Ramchandra University and Manipal University, so, that is having a duration of 3 years. So you
Okay.
can go for any of these.
Okay, Balkrishnan, what are the qualification for applying sports psycho as a sports psychology
Balkis,
certificate? I think. What are
yes, yes, yes.
basic qualification for applying for sports psychology?
The basic qualification for applying for sports psychologist post is masters. So you can have a master's in psychology with experience in sports psychology, or you might be having a master's in sports psychology itself.
Okay. And Bhupender is asking, I thought you tell us about the career in sports psychology. I think we have taken a lot of questions regarding the same.
Yeah.
Uh, and because everyone is not aware about sports psychology, so we have talked about what is the work of sports psychologists. Then
Yes.
obviously we have answered other questions also.
So
Pratik is saying we have no, we have not diverted because people don't know what are the work of sports psychology. That is why we have taken this, and
mhm.
also good university. That also we have the scope. We have already covered. Recording will be available on our website. Don't worry about that. And then Lisa Bhattacharya is asking, sir, please let us know what we should opt for becoming a sports psychologist, like what we have to do next and how to apply, where to apply. I think we have covered this.
Yeah,
And
Atulji, I'll give another
okay,
answer.
okay,
Like
okay,
one thing is, you can go for master in sports psychology for 2 years, and then you can apply. You can go for master in sports psychology. Another way, Lisa, may be applying for MPhil clinical psychology, because when I interact in this field, I consider myself lucky having a training in clinical psychology, because I'm aware of all the techniques that can be used. It's my base of knowledge. So my base of knowledge is so strong. I have got so many techniques that I can manipulate with anything.
hmm,
It gives me efficiency as a counselor. It gives me efficiency as a therapist. It gives me efficiency as a person. It gives me efficiency as a sports psychologist. And so this clinical psychology course is the base of everything.
okay,
And another benefit is, if you being a clinical psychologist is, it gives you this a good career prospect. So if you go for if you can also go for clinical psychology and you have a degree in clinical psychology, then you later on move to sports psychology. That is very easy. Yes.
okay. And then Lisa is asking about this is. Acha, is he saying we are not talking about career, but we have talked about everything now. And Sansita Racha, what qualification required to be a certified sports psychologist in India?
Certified sports psychologist is you can say MSc, post graduation with the means Post-graduation with the experience in the field of sports, there is Sports Psychology Association of India. So if you are a member of that, they certify you to become a sports psychologist.
Okay, Ritu Verma
Yeah.
is asking, I have done a master's in clinical psychology, would love to pursue sports psychology. What can be the next step?
So Ritu, being a sports psychologist means if you are that much interested in sports psychology, you can go for masters in sports psychology. You can go
Mhm.
for masters in sports psychology, so you are equipped with all the skills and the exposure of the field. Because exposure, if you work and try to get the exposure, it is not that easy, and it depends upon where you which kind of organization you land up in.
Okay.
So if you go, yeah.
Okay, sir. So we have two, three more questions we'll take. Sula
Yes,
Sinha
yes.
is, sir, I want to ask if you can suggest any research topic regarding sports psychology. Just after I just completed her post graduation in sports psychology. Is that then he will become a sports psychologist? I think she's asking, she has done, or someone has done like masters in psychology, and now pursuing, I think, PhD or something, I don't know. And well, the question is not clear
It's
actually.
it's not very easy,
So
Sula. We have to sit
Sula,
and
you
talk
can
about
write
it.
us, you can write to us, or you can post on a website. We'll try to reply your question. Manas Gandhi, sir, can you suggest some good college for master in sports psychology? You already told us,
So
like different institution where they can do. Banu Rico, sir, there is any online diploma or master course which I should
yes.
do in Jalandhar? Which college and university provide master in sports psychology course?
Yeah, it's a GNDU. It's GNDU, Guru Nanak Dev University, which provides masters in sports psychology. Guru
Okay,
Nanak
good,
Dev
good.
University. Yes,
So
yes.
he is in Jalandhar, he can go for that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Ananya Batra, I will be starting with undergrad in BA psychology, but I plan to become a sports psychologist so that. So what can I do as in workshop or internship, reading books, or improve my knowledge on sports psychology?
Ananya, you can go for this sports psychology programs which are going all over. So even UIBS is going to run a sports psychology program, and apart from that, many other sports psychology courses will be means going on in between. So you need to be cautious about. You need to be searching all these sports psychology related organizations website. Maybe you look up on Sai website, you look up on SRM website, Manipal website, JNU website. So there you will find some interesting courses in sports psychology, and you can enroll into it. Yeah.
Okay, sir. There is Ritu is asking, if I am a MSc in clinical psychology, what can be the next step to become a sports psychologist?
Yes, Ritu, there are two ways. One, we can go for MSc in sports psychology from some of the universities. Other way, maybe you can go for MPhil clinical psychology, and then you land up into sports psychology.
Okay, sir. And then next question is from Ritu Verma. And then Arjun. Sir, it is good to take MSc in sports psychology or studying general psychology for masters and choose a sports area in MPhil or PhD.
No, Arjun, I'll say कि it's better to go for MSc Sports Psychology at least, and either you go for MSc in Sports Psychology at least, or you can go for MPhil Clinical Psychology, and then you can work in sports. Don't miss that from general psychology. Choosing a sports area won't land you up anywhere. So better
Okay.
to go
And
for
there
MSc
is
Sports.
one last question is there. Ritu is asking, sir, can you help me with the internship in sports psychology in Bangalore? Is there any opportunity in Bangalore?
Yes, Ritu, there will be opportunity. You apply to the regional center there, and they will let you know what kind of opportunity they have for you.
Okay, sir. I think we have taken all the question, and thank you for taking out time for us, and thank you all participants. And there is a good news that we are starting one new course on sports psychology that we have posted. That is a basic course. There you can understand all like techniques and all that will help you in applying. Even after MA in psychology, you can apply for the as a psychologist in the in this like SAI, Sports Authority of India. So that will be a good course for you that you can check on our website. We will upload this video also there, that anybody can attend, like go through for free. There is no charges for that. But obviously, when you go for the courses, that is paid course. For in 15 days, you can complete that course. We are starting from 15th of this month, and that will continue further also. So you can check this link, and if you have any query, you can write to us at our email ID, and that is info@uibsdel.org. I have posted on in the chat box, and you can contact us anytime uh, on this number that I have posted in the group, and you can join our course. That will be beneficial for you. If you have any other query, we have other courses also. You can check our website. You have already registered for the like on our website, so you can see all each and everything. So thank you, Dr. Deepak Misra, for taking out time from your busy schedule and addressing these queries for students. Hope this will help them. Mm, Sir, someone is asking your email ID. If you want, you can post there in the chat box.
Okay, I'll post my email
Okay.
ID there.
Uh, okay, sir. So thank you very much, Dr. Deepak, and everyone who has attended this workshop. This will help you, I think, in further in making career in sports psychology. So with this, because we are all again running out of time. Already we have crossed 20 minutes from scheduled time. So we are winding up. Best of luck to everyone. Thank you, Dr. Misra.
Thank you, Atulji.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody. And it was just an effort to bring the field of sports psychology to you people so that we have very good sports psychologists in the future, and it helps our sports in the long run. Yeah. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So we are logging out. Thank you, everyone.